where you have 2 to 3 parts, right? Where you have the debate going on, where you have the deliberation and lobbying going on, and then where you have the paperwork, right? So I'll just brief you through what we are going to go over here. So in the rules of procedure which we are following, we are going to start with a roll call. A roll call where Leah will be calling out all the countries, and you have, if you're present in the committee, you say present, right? So we know you're present over here. So you respond by a present, and Ria notes down by a P on the Excel sheet which we are maintaining. After that, we are going to divide this committee into 2 parts. Part 1 being the opening statements, part 2 being the moderated sessions. I guess I did receive a message from one of you, I think it was USA, about moderated caucuses. I think did receive that message. So part 2 is where we are going to have the moderated sessions, right? So going back to part 1, what do we do in these opening statements? In these in the opening statements, in an alphabetical order, we'll be calling out your names. Every delegate present here will be given 120 seconds to make a speech, to make an opening speech in terms of their stance, their views, their approach towards the agenda, how you are tackling it, how you are dealing with it. You can structure a speech in your own ways. After these 120 seconds are over, we'll be entertaining 2 to 3 questions minimum. 2 to 3 questions minimum. Now, let's say the delegate of Somalia delivers a speech. Now, after the delegate of Somalia is done delivering the speech, we'll be asking the delegate of Somalia, delegate, do you wish to entertain any questions, right? If the delegate says yes, we open the floor for questions, and the delegates who wish to ask questions raise their hands. We recognize them. You ask your questions, the delegate responds. We will entertain one follow-up maximum. Let's say Argentina is asking a question to Somalia, right? Somalia gives the response, but still Argentina wants a follow-up. So Argentina says, plead to follow up. Now, depending upon whether we want to grant that or not, we allow that. And if we say, granted, then Argentina can ask a follow-up question also. Now, what we have to understand is that after the opening statements are done and you ask the question, questions have to be concise, crisp. They don't have to be long paragraphs or a small speech. You ask your questions, you get around 30 seconds to ask your question and around 1.5 minutes to answer, right? To ensure that we just don't keep on going. So that is how the opening statements are going to work to start with. You get 120 seconds. You are asked questions. You answer. You are asked questions only if you want them to be asked in the first place. 2 to 3 questions minimum. One plea to follow up would be entertained depending upon case-to-case basis. And that is what we'll be doing with the opening statements. Everyone has to give an opening statement. That is something which I want to clear out now itself. So you prepare for that. Now, after opening statements are done, and opening statements are only going to happen on day 1 of the conference. They're not going to happen on day 2. So they only happen on Saturday in the first session. After the opening statements are done, we move ahead to the moderated session. Okay, what are we talking by the moderated session? I'm going to give you guys 2 options. We are going to vote informally right now in committee in terms of which option we are going to go ahead with. Usually in the moderated session, we have a specific topic sub-agenda which the committee selects, votes upon, and then is being discussed in the committee. Okay, right? So motion to suspend formal debate and have a moderated caucus discussing the topic and total time and per speaker time, right? Now there are 2 options over here. One is that different delegates bring upon topics for moderated caucuses in the committee and then we vote upon them. Or secondly, the delegates and the committee on their own can decide certain topics, 4 or 5 topics, mutually decide, and then bring them in the committee and we can directly start discussing them. So one option is where, let's say USA or let's say Libya wants to have a moderated caucus on, let's say, topic X or topic Y. They're going to raise their hand, we recognize them, and they raise this topic in committee. They say the total time, they say the per speaker time, and we are done. And then we vote upon it, delegates for, delegates against, right? Now, for a motion to pass in this sense, you need simple majority, which is 50 plus 1. So let's say hypothetically, if 10 delegates are there in the committee, you need 6 people to vote yes for your motion to pass and for us to have a discussion on that. That is option 1. Option 2 is that we don't get involved in this voting aspect. We just we leave it up to the committee to decide a list of topics which you decide on the WhatsApp group or amongst yourself when you have meetings. You present that list to us on the on Saturday in the morning, and then we just have a discussion on them. So what we are going to do now is that we're going to have an informal vote to decide whether the committee wants to have voting on topics for moderated caucuses, or whether the committee doesn't want to. So you can just raise your hand. All those who can't raise their hand, turn on your camera and raise your hand like this if you have any problem with the tools or options working over here. So all those who don't want to include the process of voting on the moderated caucus topics, raise your hand. Okay. So okay, put USA and guys, vote at one time. Don't just wait. So we have 4 people. Okay, I'm going to give you us 10 more seconds to vote, and then we'll decide. Yeah. So we have 5 delegates who say they don't want to indulge in the voting process, but rest of them clearly want us to vote upon the moderated caucus topics. So we'll move ahead with that. So just a second, you guys can put your hands down. Yeah. So after the opening statements are done, we'll be asking the committee that are there any motions on the floor. You have to raise motions to introduce your Netherlands. You have a question? You have to raise motions to raise your moderated caucus, right? Motion to suspend formal debate and start a moderated caucus on topic XYZ for total time and per speaker time. What does total time and per speaker time mean? Total time, the total time the moderated caucus is going to last for. It can be 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 25 minutes. And per speaker time should be divisible by a total time, right? So you can't have 10 minutes and 3 minutes per speaker. It can be 10 minutes total time and 2 minutes per speaker. That means we have 5 speakers in total. Is that clear? One more thing. Now, let's say UK and Luxembourg are raising a motion for a moderated caucus, right? Luxembourg raises it for topic X for total time 10 minutes, per speaker time 1 minute. UK raises it for topic Y, total time 15 minutes, per speaker time 1 minute. Okay. So in this case, would anyone like to guess which moderated caucus we will be voting upon first?
Luxembourg.
Yes. Would you like to tell everyone why?
Because the time they are getting is 10 minutes and they're giving everyone 1 minute. So it's equally fair.
Okay. So that is a false conception. We will be voting upon UK's first, right? So Luxembourg was 10 and 1. We had 10 speakers. UK was 15 and 1. We had 15 speakers. So UK's motion becomes more disruptive. Disruptive in the sense, a motion which allows more people to speak will always be voted upon first in the most simple, sense. You don't need to focus on this, but it was my duty to tell you, thus, I'm stating this. So is it clear as to how you are going to raise these motions and how you are going to structure them in terms of topic, time, per speaker, time? So UK seems to have a question, right? Yeah, go ahead.
The motions have to be related to the agenda only, no?
Yes. So your agenda is a larger topic, right? you have to, sub aspects associated to the agendas, smaller parts of the agenda, right? So it has to be related to your agenda, but you can't have your motion as your agenda, like the which is given to you. It has to have smaller aspects under it. Get it? Yeah, go ahead.
If during the what do you say, opening conversations,
Opening
if
statement.
question is asked and we are not able to answer it, can we answer it later, or will there be a time to answer it later?
If the question is asked, you have to answer it then and there. If you're not able to answer it then and there, you can give an answer directly to the member who has asked you question personally via WhatsApp or via personal chat over here. That won't go via us. Is it clear?
Okay.
Yeah. So is everyone clear about how we are going to raise moderated caucuses and frame them? Yeah. So now, if there are no doubts, one more thing which I need to tell you guys is that when you raise these motions have to be discussed and deliberated with others, because if you unilaterally raise them, people won't vote for it. So talk to each other, lobby with each other, have a discussion with each other, and then select these topics, because you need people to vote for them. Unless if people don't vote for them, you can't discuss them, right? So you need simple majority at all times for people to vote for them. Is that clear?
Yes.
Now, apart, yes, USA.
No, I'm saying yes.
Yeah. Actually, I wanted to ask that
To ask a
we can
question.
answer. Yes, no, I'm asking. When we're asking via
Put your
chats.
camera on while you're asking a question.
Yeah, sure. Yes. So when we're answering a delegate personally, can we send the chats via you? Because how will you get to know if we're answering them?
That's the whole point. We won't be accepting cheats in this whole.
Okay.
I am not a big fan of accepting cheats in the online medium. If it was an offline conference, I would have surely done that. Because so the thing is, let's say you're asked a question, right? We expect you to give an answer then and there. If you find the answer later on, maximum you can do is put it on everyone. So we might glance through it, but it still doesn't stand. So we are not getting into this aspect of asking questions and getting answers via chit or via EB thing. I know what you're trying to say, but we are not going to do that over here.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Hello.
Yeah,
Hello.
who's this? Yeah, Somalia, please turn your camera on.
1 second. Hello. I wanted to ask a question. Like the countries, like United Kingdom and USA, can they use veto power?
No, sir, they cannot. Veto power is, can be used and is only applicable when it comes to United Nations Security Council, UNSC. So over here, it won't be applicable.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other delegate with a question? Okay. So, so we have the opening statements, we have the moderated session, right? Now, when I talk about your moderated sessions, right? After every speech, let's say Somalia delivers a speech, right? We'll be entertaining minimum one, maximum two questions, and no plead to follow-ups would be entertained over here. So like in the opening statements, we were going to entertain 2 to 3 questions with at least one plead to follow-up. Here we will be only entertaining 1 to 2 questions with no plead to follow-up. So putting it out, there. Now, apart from different parts of debate, there are certain points and certain rights which all delegates present over here have. So I'll be telling you guys what those points and rights are. Especially those who don't know, I would request you guys to write them down, because these points and these rights will help you a lot on the day of the conference apart from your research. Yes, USA.
So when we're asking a delegate a question, when they have delivered their opening statement, should the question be related to only what they said during their opening statement, or can it be any question uh, regarding the agenda? If it's
Okay.
yeah.
See, now, if a delegate is addressing one part, right? Let's say custodial violence, right? You can ask a question, related to that, or you can ask a question about the nation's actions or certain law violations and all. But at the same time, try to make sure that there is some sort of flow and connect to it, because if you don't maintain that, then the other person has the freedom to say that I did not mention these things right now, so you are allowed to ask questions about any aspect of the agenda, but I would prefer if they are related to the speech.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, going back to your points and rights, right? First, we'll talk about the points. Uh, so when we talk about the questions, we don't call them questions in a MUN. We call them point of information, POI, right? So we won't be asking delegates who have questions, raise your hands. We'll be asking delegates wishing to ask a point of information, raise your hand. POI, in simple sense, you can just write it down as, you know a, a point or a tool which facilitates your ability to ask a question. That's what a point of information is for. Second, point of inquiry. A point of inquiry can be asked, you know or can be used with on the executive board. Like, let's say if you have any doubt or any confusion about what is happening in the committee, about the rules of procedure, about what is being discussed, you raise your hand, and then we ask you what point do you rise to delegate, and you tell us point of inquiry, and then you ask us your question and we clear your doubt. So point of information is question to delegates, point of inquiry is clearing your doubts and confusion about procedural concerns or anything. Are we clear about these 2 points? If there are any questions, you can raise your hand. Thank you. Now then, third, we have point of personal privilege. In the most basic essence, the point of personal privilege talks about any sort of personal discomfort which you face, right? Now, in an online setting, you can use your point of personal privilege. Let's say if someone is talking really fast, or if someone is talking really slow, someone is talking really loudly, or very softly, you can't hear them, their voice is cracking. So you can use this point of privilege, and the personal privilege is the only point which can be used between anyone's speech. Like, let's say I'm delivering a speech right now, you can unmute yourself and say point of personal privilege, and we'll stop that person who's giving the speech, and we'll clear your concern. So point of personal privilege is for personal discomfort, and I've defined the ambit of it, how you can use it in an online platform. And it's the only point which can be used between anyone's speech, but not frivolously or randomly, for a genuine reason. Yes, Armenia?
Sir, can you just repeat the first 2 points that you said? Just the
Yes.
name.
First I mentioned point of information, which was for the questions which you will be asking after your opening statements and moderated session speeches. Second was point of inquiry, which was for the doubts or queries which you can ask the executive board if you don't know what's happening in the committee, or if you're confused about what is happening in the
The
committee.
point of inquiry will be asked to the committee, not the
To the
speaker.
executive board.
To the executive board.
If
Okay.
you have any doubts or confusion about the ROP or how things are functioning.
Okay. And point of info will be asked to the speaker, right?
To the delegates.
Delegate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, UK.
If we experience any network issues during the conference, then what should we do?
If you face any network issues during the conference, firstly you type a message on the WhatsApp group and let us know. If that is not possible, you call the OC members and inform them so they can inform us. And lastly, you try your best to come back as soon as possible, right? So make sure we all have a good Wi-Fi. Like, try to do that, and because like these things are possible, they happen to all of us, they have happened to me also, right? So just be prepared, right? Like have your mobile hotspot ready as your backup. So we will not penalize you if any network issues happen, but try to come back as soon as possible. Yes, delegate of Somalia, please your camera on.
Hello.
Yes.
Can you just point of information? Can you just explain that one?
Yes. So when I said that we'll be entertaining questions after the opening statements and after the speeches given in the moderated sessions, point of information after, let's say, Libya is done giving a speech, I'll be asking delegate of Libya, do you wish to entertain any questions? If the delegate says yes, I'll be asking delegates wishing to ask uh, uh, like the delegate of Libya a question or a point of information, raise your hand. Then you will be raising your hand and we'll be recognizing you. So point of information in the simple sense is a question, is a tool for you to ask other people questions in the committee.
Okay, okay.
Right?
And the point of personal privilege.
Point of personal privilege is a point which you usually use when you have any discomfort. Now in an online platform, you can have a discomfort. Let's say if someone is speaking very loudly, or if someone is very fast or very soft, right? So you can use your point of personal privilege, and you can use this point even between someone's speech and stop them and say point of personal privilege and state your reason. What is your concern? And we'll try to solve that. Is that clear?
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So we did point of information, point of inquiry, point of personal privilege. And there's one more point, which is the point of order. So what the point of order is, that now we as the executive board, we are establishing certain practices and a certain rules of procedure. Now let's say on the day of the conference, if we don't follow that rules of procedure or if we make any error in that, you can raise a point of order on the executive board. In the most basic sense, a point of order can be raised when the executive board members make any mistakes, to let us know that we have made that mistake, and then we we'll respond to it. So that is a tool which you can use against the executive board. Now let's say uh, Finland does something in the committee which does not fall according to the ROP, right? And the executive board allows it. So someone can raise a point of order and point it out, and we'll take a note of it. So is that clear? Are all 4 points clear as to what they are, when they can be used, how they can be used? Okay. So those were the points. Now you additionally have one right. Okay. Right to reply. What is a right to reply? In case of any insult to your head of state, that's your PM or president, or breach of sovereignty, a right to reply can be raised. Let's say if anyone makes offensive, derogatory statements in their speech, you can raise a right to reply, and then based on the case to case, we might grant it or we might not. So is that clear? So I'm again summing it up. We start with the opening statements with minimum 2, maximum 3 questions with 1 plead to follow up. We move to the moderated caucuses, how you have to raise them with the topic, with the total time per speaker time. We entertain 1 to 2 questions with no plead to follow ups. You have your point of inquiry, information, point of order, point of personal privilege, and right to reply, right? So this is where we stand as of now. Now, there is one thing which I would like to tell you guys and urge you guys. As most of you are first timers, that is why I especially want to emphasize on this. Firstly, we have 7 hours of debate in 2 days. If you have gone through the itinerary, or if it hasn't been shared, I'm telling you, you have 7 hours of debate in 2 days, right? We as a committee, we have an option whether to focus on debate or whether we want paperwork in the committee or not. With a committee full of first timers and with with a shortage of time, I would urge you all that let's focus on paperwork only. No, wait, let's focus on debate and not focus on paperwork. because I want you guys to know how to give these speeches. I want you guys to know how to use these rules of procedure, and how to operate in a MUN. But still, if any member feels that there is a need for us to have some sort of paperwork, I would be more than happy to explain how paperwork is done, what is paperwork on the day of the conference, right? So informally now, like, is there any member in the committee which feels that there is a need to do paperwork instead of just sticking to debate and discussion and deliberation? So you can just raise your hand, so I'll know accordingly, and we'll be prepared. Yeah, I'm talking about draft resolutions, I'm talking about committee reports, I'm talking about working papers, yeah, or press releases, communiques, all of these things, which I honestly feel will take a lot of time out from the debate, because making them, understanding how to make them, it's a big process. I can surely do a session on how to make different forms of paperwork, but I feel, considering the paucity of the shortage of time that we have, we should just stick to the debate. So I'm asking again, does anyone still want to do paperwork? We would be happy to explain you and go ahead with that. If not, we'll stick to the debate, the opening statements and moderated sessions, like the speeches and stuff. So
Sure.
yes,
Will the second day on Sunday will only be moderated session or what? How will the second day go?
yeah, mainly it will only be moderated sessions. If we want, we might have closing statements depending upon the need.
Okay.
So is everyone clear about the structure and the flow of the debate that is going to be followed, starting with the roll call, opening statements, and moderated sessions, and paperwork if needed, with your rights and points available? So does anyone have any questions for me? Yes, India, please turn your camera on.
Sir, I'm a bit out right now, so I could not turn my camera on.
Okay.
Will it be fine if I ask directly?
Yeah, sure.
Sir, my question is related to position paper. Do we need to submit any position paper
No,
before the conference?
I don't believe in taking position papers. Uh, it's a thing which differs from different executive board members. So I honestly don't prefer taking them. So we won't be.
Okay, I got it, sir. And sir, you were talking about the different papers that we need to submit during the conference. That currently, if it's not needed, we will not prepare any. But that after the conference, can the conclave keep a session for a day to just explain how these papers are being prepared and how to present it before in the conference?
I can ask the organizing committee and surely do that. See, my whole point of saying that we should not, run behind paperwork was because we have very less time, and making paperwork takes a lot of time. It's not just making paperwork. There are rules about how to discuss paperwork, how to vote upon paperwork, right? So that is why I don't want to have it. But if the committee wants, we'll surely do it. But yeah, I can surely ask the organizing committee members if they permit me. We'll have this session afterwards. Is it fine?
Yes, sir, it will work.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, Sarvesh.
If possible, can you explain the moderated session again, please?
Yes, okay. And Devashri, even you haven't received your portfolio,
Yes,
and you also aren't able to turn your camera on.
yes, actually, I am facing a bit network issues.
So what is your question, Devashri?
Sir, I wanted to ask that in the moderated sessions, will we have another topics or will we be sticking to the agenda?
Okay, sure. Thank you for your question. Any other question? Okay, seeing none. So before I address these two questions about the moderated sessions, one thing which I would like to say outright and clearly is that on the day of the conference, for the 7 hours that we are going to meet, I would appreciate if everyone has their cameras on, and it would be honestly, appreciated and preferred if everyone has their cameras on that time. Going back to the questions which were asked, right? So I'm going to explain properly what a moderated session is. In a moderated session, see, in your opening statement, you're allowed to talk about anything and everything that you want to. In a moderated session, you don't talk about the whole agenda. You talk about sub aspects of the agenda, sub agendas, like smaller parts of the agenda. So first, a motion has to be raised, motion to suspend formal debate and start a moderated caucus discussing topic XYZ, means your topic, for total time and per speaker time. Total time 10 minutes, per speaker time 1 minute or 2 minutes. That is how you are going to do this. So in your moderated sessions, you are going to be discussing sub agendas and sub aspects, but these motions need to be voted upon. You can't randomly raise them. Let's say Sarvesh raises this motion, right, to discuss a topic for total time 10 minutes, per speaker time 1 minute. I'll be asking the committee delegates for and delegates against. So like delegates, so like yes and no in the most big. And if this motion gets simple majority, that is 50 plus 1, only then we'll discuss this. And after those 10 minutes are over, I will ask for a new motion and then we'll discuss another motion. Is it clear? Clear, everyone? And even during these moderated sessions, we'll entertain 1 or 2 questions maximum without any extensions. Any more queries, confusion?
Sir, it will be compulsory to answer those questions in the moderated sessions, right?
It is not compulsory to answer any questions. We'll be always asking the delegate, do you wish to entertain any questions? Even in the opening statements. So you will always be given a chance to decide whether you want to answer or not. We recommend that you answer the questions. It will be appreciated. It also makes the debate more interesting and dynamic, but we can't force anyone to answer a question.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else with any questions?
So the opening statements will be related to the agenda, right? So open it. Okay.
Anything about the agenda, anything and everything. National issues, international issues, what your country has done good, what other countries have done wrong, what do you want this committee to focus on? Just a brief, it can be anything. Play around with it.
Okay.
Right? What I urge this committee to do is, first of all, have a discussion amongst yourself. What do you guys want to do? What topics do you like? Have a discussion on the Zoom meeting after we are done. Have a discussion on the WhatsApp group. Bianca, please open the WhatsApp group for everyone to, send messages. Do that, lobby amongst yourself and work towards it. So we'll have a fruitful and smooth debate on the day of the conference. You can PC us also if you have any doubts. Leah, can you tag all 3 of us on the group using that @ thing? So she'll do that.
Yes.
You can PC all of us also, and we can also clear your doubts. Yes, UK. You're on mute.
Just to be clear, can you please explain what the motion will be? Like what type?
Okay. So see, I can't give out a motion. So you have your main agenda, right? So now under the main agenda, there are different sub aspects, smaller agendas. So you can have a motion discussing that. So it has to be a sub aspect of the agenda. A smaller aspect, a smaller part of the agenda, maybe something which happened in some country, or something which you want, like you can focus on causes, effects, solutions in the most basic sense too, right? And I'm pretty sure when you have a discussion with your committee, your committee members will already have certain agendas to discuss. So you will get an idea from that also. Make this a learning process, and all I can say is that listening is equally important, is equally important like speaking in a conference. The more you listen to others, the more you can respond, the more you can ask questions. Your speeches don't have to always be the research that you do. Your speeches also can be responses to people, right? So listen to each other, note down things, take notes, make speeches, be confident, don't hesitate to make any mistakes. You're here to learn something new, so be confident, and we are here to make this a very conducive and friendly experience for each one of you, right? So with that, if you have any questions, ask us right now. If you don't, we'll be leaving, and you guys can have a discussion over here for some time. Discuss about the topics which you want to discuss. Discuss about how you want to go ahead in the committee, or what approach you want to take, right? So please do that. Survey, see, I'm not going to say that it's the best thing to read, but whether you read or don't read, I don't have any way of finding it out, right? So do whatever you're comfortable with. So seeing no questions, so Leah, Drishik, and I will be leaving now. Bianca, please keep the uh, Zoom meeting open for next half an hour. Is that clear?
Yes, I'll do that.
USA, there is no unmoderated caucus. There's only roll call, opening statement, and moderated sessions. I'm not even calling it moderated caucus. Is that clear, USA? Yeah, thank you for your thumbs up. Leah and Drishik, WhatsApp me your email IDs. I'll be sending you the scoring sheet, which you guys have to fill. So looking forward to seeing you guys on Saturday. All the best. And you can ask us any questions if you have any. All the best. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Hello, everyone. Can we discuss the moderated caucus topics or so-called unmoderated, as so said, because we won't be having moderated caucus. And as you all know, it should be regarding the agenda, should be mostly the subtopics, which might come under freedom of speech or custodial violence. So as a delegate of Qatar, and I have already made two moderated caucus topics. Is Qatar with us right now? Viraj, are you there?